You sit in absolute silence, eyes closed, trying to focus on the slow rise and fall of your breath. You have lit the incense, set the timer, and read the books on mindfulness. Yet inside your chest, there is a quiet, vibrating friction that refuses to settle. Your mind is frantically cataloging your worries, reviewing your mistakes, and planning your future, while a deep, heavy numbness sits in the pit of your stomach. You open your eyes, look around your room, and are met with a cold, hollow sense of isolation. You feel completely disconnected, not just from your breath, but from the room, from the people in your life, and from any sense of deeper meaning. You wonder why your spiritual practices feel like just another chore on your to-do list, and you carry a secret, heavy guilt, believing that you are simply too hollow, too distracted, or too broken to experience a sacred life. If this is familiar, if you recognize the exhausting effort of trying to perform peace, while feeling profoundly empty and alone inside what you are facing, is not a spiritual failure, a lack of faith, or a soul defect. According to Gabor Maté's trauma-informed work, spiritual disconnection is not a random disease of the spirit. It is a biological protective mechanism. It is the somatic consequence of early survival. When a child is forced to disconnect from their own body, their own feelings, and their own boundaries to survive their environment, they do not just lose access to their pain, they turn down the volume on their entire life. They lose their capacity for awe, wonder, and the organic flow of existence. Until you understand the history behind this biological numbing, you will continue to chase external spiritual fixes, believing you need more discipline, higher vibrations, or better mantras, while your body continues to treat true presence as an existential threat. The path to a deeply lived, naturally sacred life does not lie in escaping your human messiness or forcing your mind to transcend your reality. It lies in a daily somatic return, and this video will show you the single simple shift you can practice every day to dissolve the armor of your survival and let your spiritual life deepen naturally. For generations, we have lived under a profound misunderstanding about what spirituality actually is. We have been taught to treat the soul as an intellectual concept or a set of beliefs to be maintained through mental effort. We view our inner emptiness, our chronic anxiety, and our emotional flatness as spiritual shortcomings. We ask ourselves, why can't I just connect? Why does everything feel so empty? But Gabor Maté's clinical work consistently reveals that spirituality is not a mental performance. It is a physical, biological state of connection. It is the natural, undefended state of a regulated human nervous system. We are born with this capacity fully active. An infant does not have to learn how to be present, how to experience awe, or how to connect with the world around them. They inhabit their body and their environment completely. But to maintain this state of open connection, a child's environment must be safe, stable, and emotionally attuned. From a trauma-informed perspective, if you grew up in a home where the emotional weather was unpredictable, stressed, or volatile, your developing nervous system was forced to make a devastating choice. You had to choose between your attachment, your connection to the caregivers who kept you alive, and your authenticity, your connection to your own feelings, boundaries, and bodily sensations. When these two essential needs conflict, attachment must always win. Your young body made a brilliant protective decision. It chose to suppress your authenticity to secure your connection. If showing your anger threatened your parents' love, you suppressed your anger. If expressing your sadness made you a burden, you silenced your grief. If having needs caused tension, you learned to go numb. The body remembers what the mind was forced to forget. The tragedy of this survival strategy is that you cannot selectively numb your emotions. When you turn down the volume of your body to avoid feeling the pain of neglect, anger, or fear, you also turn down the volume on your joy, your curiosity, and your capacity to experience deep spiritual connection. You built a personality around your numbness, mistaking your flatness for peace and your intellectual understanding of life for actual living. So when you try to practice spirituality as an adult, your nervous system experiences a deep biological conflict. Your conscious mind wants connection, but your subconscious survival brain looks at the quiet, lets down its guard, and thinks, this is too quiet, I am unguarded, this is dangerous. Your body treats presence like a trap, and so it quickly snaps you back into overthinking, anxiety, or numbness, because those are the baselines it associates with staying alive. Let us explore three profound patterns where our childhood survival scripts actively block our spiritual life from deepening. And the third pattern is the deepest, most quiet block of all. But before we reveal the first pattern, there is an anticipation you must hold. We often believe we are seeking enlightenment, but more often we are using spiritual practices to run away from our own bodies. The first pattern of this disconnection is the spiritual bypass treating transcendence as a flight response. You are someone who is deeply drawn to high vibrational teachings, constant positivity, and spiritual concepts that emphasize rising above human suffering. You avoid low-vibe feelings like anger, grief, and resentment, treating them as signs of spiritual regression. When a difficult emotion arises in your body, you immediately try to meditate it away, replace it with a positive affirmation, or reframe it through a spiritual lens. But here is what most people miss. According to Dr. Gabor Maté, using spirituality to avoid your actual, raw human emotions is not healing. It is a highly sophisticated form of dissociation. If you grew up in a home where your human messiness, your tears, your anger, your vulnerability was unacceptable or dangerous, your nervous system learned that you were only safe and loved when you were perfect, quiet, and saintly. As an adult, your spiritual bypassing is the same old childhood survival strategy. This doesn't mean you're broken. It means your mind learned to protect you. That desire to constantly transcend your feelings, that is not enlightenment. That is intelligence in service of survival, using spiritual concepts as an anesthetic to protect your young heart from a reality that was too painful to feel. But the cost of this bypass is that your spiritual life remains hollow. You cannot build a relationship with a higher power or the mystery of life if you are actively refusing to have a relationship with your own human reality. True spirituality is not about rising above your pain. It is about having the immense courage to drop down into it. And this leads us to the second pattern, where our search for the sacred becomes trapped entirely in our heads. The second pattern is the intellectualized soul, mentalizing your connection to the world. You spend hours reading books on philosophy, listening to podcasts on psychology, and studying spiritual traditions. You can describe your childhood trauma and your nervous system states with perfect clinical precision. But despite all this knowledge, your actual daily experience of life remains flat, gray, and empty. You are like a person who has memorized the entire menu of a restaurant but has never actually tasted the food. From a trauma-informed perspective, this mentalization is a protective fortress. When staying in your physical body is intolerable because it is filled with the high-voltage energy of fear, grief, or anger that you could neither fight nor escape. Your nervous system has only one defense. It pulls your awareness out of your flesh and moves it into your intellect. The body remembers what the mind was forced to forget. You learned to live in your head because your head was the only place where you could analyze, organize, and control the chaos. Not because something was wrong with you, because something was wrong with what happened to you, and your brain learned that feeling your physical body was too dangerous to tolerate. Your obsession with spiritual theories and mental analysis is the adult version of that childhood escape hatch. You are using your intellect to analyze the lock, hoping that if you understand the mechanism well enough, you won't actually have to open the door and feel the raw, unpredictable grief that is waiting on the other side. But before we reveal the final pattern, there is an anticipation you must hold. The last pattern is the one most frequently disguised as a deeply artistic, sensitive, or spiritually profound personality. The third pattern, the deepest one, is the chronic addiction to unmet longing. You live with a chronic, quiet preference for the state of missing something. You are drawn to teachers who are distant, spiritual goals that are just out of reach, and a constant aching yearning for home or a higher plane. When a quiet, stable, and ordinary peace is offered to you, when a safe relationship or a simple moment of calm is present, you immediately feel bored or anxious. You find a flaw, you pull away, or you seek a new spiritual chase, sabotaging the quietness because you are terrified of the silence. You tell yourself that you are just an eternal wanderer, a romantic seeker who belongs in the search. But according to Dr. Gabor Maté's clinical insights, this chronic longing is the somatic footprint of emotional neglect. If you grew up with caregivers who were emotionally distant, unpredictable, or unable to meet your deepest needs for attunement, your young nervous system calibrated its baseline thermostat to missing. To your body, the pain of longing was the only baseline it knew. You wired the sensation of reaching out for someone who wasn't there to the concept of connection itself. As an adult, your body treats quiet completeness as a threat, because completeness is unfamiliar. That is not weakness. That is intelligence in service of survival, protecting your childhood heart by ensuring you never dropped your guard and expected more than your environment could give. But the cost of this survival is that you spend your entire life in a state of voluntary exile, choosing the safe, familiar ache of a hollow heart over the terrifying vulnerability of being truly present in the messy, ordinary moment. You are not broken, you adapted. You survived environments that asked you to go numb, live in your head, and long for connection from a distance just to keep your survival baseline intact. Your chronic emptiness, your bypass, and your addiction to longing are not proofs of your inadequacy. They are the living, breathing monuments to your resilience. But you do not have to live on the battlefield anymore. True spiritual deepening is not a mental search or a performance of positivity. It is what Dr. Maté calls the return to authenticity, and the simple daily practice to achieve this is compassionate somatic welcome. To deepen your spiritual life naturally, you must stop trying to search for the sacred outside yourself and instead make a daily habit of welcoming the actual physical reality of your body. Every day, the moment you wake up or the moment you sit down to rest in the evening, do not reach for your phone, do not open a book, and do not try to force yourself to meditate. Instead, close your eyes, place one hand over your heart and the other over your stomach. Drop your attention away from your thoughts and down into your physical form. Follow these 3 daily steps. First, locate the sensations. Scan your body from your head to your toes. Notice where the tension lives. Feel the clenching in your jaw, the tightness in your shoulders, the drop in your stomach, or the heavy numbness behind your ribs. Do not try to breathe them away. Do not try to make them feel better. Simply find their physical boundaries. Second, drop the narrative. Your mind will immediately try to spin a story about your tension. It will tell you that you are anxious because of your job, your finances, or your mistakes. Refuse to engage with these thoughts. Tell yourself, my brain is trying to explain a physical sensation. I am dropping the story and staying with my body. Third, offer compassionate welcome. Speak to your own physical sensations with the unconditional tenderness of a loving parent holding a frightened child. Say to your own body, I feel how tight we are right now. I feel the empty space behind our ribs. It is okay that you are carrying this. I am right here with you. We do not have to fix this, and I am not going to run away. When you practice this somatic welcome every day, you do something revolutionary. You provide your nervous system with the safety it has been crying out for since childhood. You are showing your body that you are no longer going to treat its protective armor as a defect. You are teaching your brain that you are finally safe enough, mature enough, and strong enough to hold your own human vulnerability. And in the presence of that safety, the somatic volume dial naturally begins to turn back up. You stop trying to perform peace and start letting your life align with the natural, beautiful truth of who you already are. This is slow, quiet, and deeply patient work. It will not change your biology overnight. You will still have days where everything feels flat. You will still have moments where the bodyguard of your mind takes over. But with every small choice to stay with your physical body instead of running to your head, with every moment you choose your own authentic presence over a cheap distraction, with every slow breath of compassion you offer to your quiet heart, you are rewiring your brain. You are showing your cells, your heart, and your breath that the storm has passed, the war is over, and you are finally safe enough to come home. The same body that learned how to go numb to survive is fully capable of learning how to rest in the quiet sunshine of your presence. You do not have to search for the divine anymore. You just have to let your true nature come back to life. Which of these three patterns felt the most familiar or perhaps the most challenging to you in this moment of your life? If conversations like this feel valuable to you, consider subscribing. This channel is a dedicated sanctuary for those who are ready to stop managing their survival and start honoring the deep, biological truth of their healing. Self-understanding will not rewrite your past, but it will change how your past lives inside your body today. And that is where your freedom begins. The hardest part of deepening your spiritual life isn't rising to a higher vibration, it's forgiving yourself for how long you've had to go numb just to survive. If this spoke to you, which of these patterns are you currently carrying, and how can you offer your body more permission to stay in its own quiet space today? Spirituality of the body, why your soul feels empty, somatic spiritual healing.